Good morning, class 7. We will continue with the chapter Tribes, Nomads, and Settled Communities. Before we proceed with the chapter, I would just like to remind you all that you are going to take a map of India and you will be marking few places. Although I will be giving the instruction in the Google Classroom as well, but please keep these places in mind, right? Bheels, Baluchis, Gokhars, Gonds, Gondwana, Santhals, Ahoms. These places you are going to mark on the map of India and paste it where you are going to do the question answers of this chapter. Please practice this map. And for exam, you will be needing a physical map of India. Please remember my words. You will be needing a physical map of India. I am repeating the places: Baluchis, Gokhars, Gonds, Gondwanas, Bheels, Santhals, Ahoms. Right? So please mark these places on the map of India and paste it where you will be doing the question answers. Now let's proceed with the chapter. We have ended at how nomads and mobile people lived. Nomadic pastoralists moved over long distance with their animals. They lived on milk and other pastoral products. They also exchanged wool, ghee, etc. with settled agriculturists for grain, clothes, utensils, and other products. So obviously nomadic people are those who do not reside at particular place for long time. They live there for some time and then they move to some other place. So that's why they are known as nomadic. And these nomadic pastoralist means people those who have animals which provides them with milk and other milk products. So they exchanged wool, ghee, etc. with the settled agriculturists, people those who were living there permanently and practicing agriculture. So with from them they got the grains, clothes, utensils, and other products. And in turn they gave them wool, ghee, and etc. like something like of which from the pastoralist animals. They bought and sold these goods as they moved from one place to another, transporting them on their animal. So, what they did was, like obviously, they resided at one place for some time, as I have told you, and then they moved on. So, they bought and sold these goods and then they moved from one place to another, transporting them, and animals were used for transportation. The Banjaras, Banjaras were the most important trader nomads. Their caravans were called Tanda. Sultan Alauddin Khilji used the Banjaras to transport grain to the city market. So, Alauddin Khilji, for his market policy, who is very famous for his market policy, he used these Banjaras for transporting grains to the city market. Emperor Jahangir wrote in his memoir that Banjaras carried grain on their bullocks from different areas and sold it in towns. They transported food grain for the Mughal army during military campaign. With a large army, there could be around 100,000 bullocks carrying grains. So, this work was done by these Banjaras. They were also nomadic people. According to Peter Mundy, an English trader who came to India during the early 17th century, has described the Banjaras. In the morning, we met a tanda of Banjaras with 14,000 oxen. They were all laden with grains such as wheat and rice. These Banjaras carry their household, wives, and children along with them. One tanda, that means one group, consists of many families. Their way of life is similar to that of carriers who continuously travel from one place to another. They own their oxen. They are sometimes hired by merchants, for most commonly they are themselves merchant. They buy grains where it is cheaply available and carry it to places where it is dearer. That means where it is expensive, where they can sell it and earn profits. So In a way, they were also acting like working as merchants. From there, they again reload their oxen with anything that can be profitably sold in other places. So there, once they have sold the grains, they purchase something which they felt that they could get from there, and they could sell it to some other place and earn profit. In Tanda, there may be as many as 6 or 700 persons. They do not travel more than 6 or 7 miles a day. That too in the cool weather. After unloading their oxen, they turn them free to graze, as there is enough land here and no one there to forbid them. So they had, like, it was fixed that they are going to travel only 6 or 7 miles a day, and the number of people, it consisted of 6 or 700 people, that tanda. And they, once they have reached a place, what they did was, they freed their animals so that they could easily go and graze anywhere, and nobody stopped those animals from grazing. And what else you get to know from here is that they obviously, because if we talk about our country, in summers it is very difficult to travel, okay, but in cool weather, that is in winters, it is easier. So they prefer to travel in that season. Many pastoral tribes reared and sold animals such as cattle and horses to the prosperous people. Different castes of petty peddlers also traveled from village to village. They made and sold wares such as ropes, reeds, straw, matting, and coarse sacks. Sometimes mendicants acted as wandering merchant. There were caste of entertainers who performed in different towns and villages for their livelihood. Okay, so then there were other pastoral tribes who reared and sold animals such as cattle and horses to rich people, prosperous people. Different caste of peddlers. Then there were peddlers who traveled from village to village and sold certain things like ropes, reeds, straw matting, like things made of, when they straw was matted, and maybe mats or something were made from it, and they used to sell it. There were caste of entertainers. There were people who acted as entertainers. They performed in different towns and villages for their livelihood. Changing society, new caste and hierarchies. As the economy and the need of society grew, people with new skills were required. Smaller caste or jatis emerged within varnas. For example, new caste appeared amongst the Brahmin. On the other hand, many tribes and social groups were taken into caste based society and given the status of jatis. Specialized artisans, smiths, carpenters, and masons were also recognized as separate jatis by the Brahmins. Jatis rather than varna became the basis for organizing society. So, as the economy was required, the society grew with the people, and then people who have different skills. Then there were people they here you can see that importance was given to jatis. So smaller castes or jatis emerged within varnas. Like initially there were only four varnas, but now different varnas, smaller jatis emerged, and new castes appeared from amongst the Brahmins. On the other hand, many tribes and social groups were taken into caste-based society and given the status of jati. Specialized artisans like smith, carpenters, and masons were recognized as separate jati. So here, from here, you can see that smith were recognized as a separate jati. Carpet people who were practicing carpentry were recognized as separate jati, and masons were also recognized as a separate jati. So from here you can see that this importance which was given to varna, now it was given to jatis. Deliberation on jati. A 12th century inscription from Uyakondan Udayar in Tiruchirappalli Taluka in present day Tamil Nadu describes the deliberations in a sabha of Brahmin. They deliberated on the status of a group known as Rathkaras, literally chariot makers. Rathkaras, from the name only, it is very clear. They laid down their occupation, which were to include architecture, building coaches, and chariots, erecting gateways for temples with image in them, preparing wooden equipment used to perform sacrifices, building mandap, making jewels for the king. So, you in the 12th century, they are talking about that there was a group which was like known as Rathkaras. They made their work was to like build coaches, chariots. They made the gateways for the temples with the images in them. Then prepared wooden equipments which was used for performing the sacrifices, etc. Among the Kshatriyas, New Rajput clan became powerful by the 11th and 12th centuries. They belonged to different lineages such as Hunas, Chandelas, Chalukyas, and others. Some of these too had been tribes earlier. Many of these clans came to be regarded as Rajputs. They gradually replaced the older rulers, especially in agricultural areas. Here, a developed society was emerging, and rulers used their wealth to create powerful states. So, amongst the Kshatriya, like new Rajput clan, they by the 11th and 12th century they became more powerful. They belonged to different lineage, like the lineages were such as Hunas, Chandelas, Chalukyas. Some of these had been tribes earlier. Initially they were tribes. Now they have like they from there they have evolved. Many of these clans came to be regarded as Rajputs. They gradually replaced the older rulers, especially in agriculture. So there were the people who were in the agricultural sector. They were replaced by these new groups which were coming up. Here, a developed society was emerging, and the rulers used their wealth to create powerful estate. The rise of Rajput clan to the position of rulers set an example for the tribal people to follow. Gradually, with the support of the Brahmins, many tribes became part of the caste system. But only the leading tribal families could join the ruling class. A large majority joined the lower jatis of caste system. So, with this, when the Rajput clan came to the position of the rulers, they set an example for the tribal people to follow. Gradually, with Brahmins also supported them because they came to the power. So obviously Brahmins supported them, and many tribes they became part of the caste system. So initially they were tribes, but gradually they became the part of the caste system. But only the leading tribal families could join the ruling class. A large majority joined the lower jatis of the caste system. On the other hand, many dominant tribes of Punjab, Sindh, and northwest frontier had adopted Islam quite early. They continued to reject the caste system. The unequal social order prescribed by Orthodox Hinduism was not widely accepted in these areas. So here you can see that because of the Orthodox Hinduism, there were people who rejected it, and they felt that there was equality in Islam, so they adopted Islam, and just to show that they were against the unequal social order. The emergence of a state is closely related to social change amongst tribal people. The example of this important part of our history, this we will be continuing in the next class. So that's all for today. Please do practice the map of India. That's all. Take care of yourselves. Be safe at home. Thank you, class.